From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. If you have any questions you'd like to ask or advice you'd like to give, come on over to podtherapy.net and join our conversation. We have a great show today. We will talk about some new research on what women find attractive about men. We'll answer some listener mail, and we'll talk about some of our favorite foods, minus salt pork. And now, broadcasting from Level 9 Studios, that guy is Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangeman. It's time for some pod therapy.
Salt pork? Is that like the pork rinds? Is that salty pork? Is like a snack?
I'll be honest, I don't really know.
Oh, okay. But you like it?
It's an inside joke to a few listeners out there.
Oh, all right. So that was exciting. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, huh, okay. I've heard of salt pork. It's a delicacy. All right. Well, yes. So welcome back, listeners. And we are so thankful. You probably heard in the opening, we are in Level 9 Studios, right where we belong, Nick. It feels good to be home.
Which is why it sounds professional. And
now it sounds good again.
Not thrown together with some stuff we bought at Best Buy.
Yeah, thank you, Best Buy, for sponsoring our makeshift Level 10 studios. Scott has brought us back, okay? He unlocked the door this time. He let us back in. And we're very grateful. And you know what? We're going to mind our manners. You know, Nick's wearing a shirt this time. It's good. Yeah. There's some new signs in the studio. No shirt, no shoes, no podcast.
We will behave.
We will now behave. We definitely want to leave here again. But super excited for it. So, Nick, we do have some new research, some really interesting stuff. Yeah, it actually is. So, new research that tells us about women and what they are attracted to, and most importantly, when they are attracted to it. So here's what came out hot off the press, okay? So you might remember this from grad school too. There's this established study that's been out there for a long time, which gave us this thing called the good genes ovulatory shift hypothesis.
Of course, yeah, everybody knows about this.
Yeah,
about the good,
or GGOSH for short, the good genes ovulatory shift hypothesis. So here's what GGOSH essentially has said over the last about 10 years. GGOSH essentially said that when women are fertile versus luteal in their ovulatory cycle, they are they're horny. Just come right out with it. They're very horny, and so they're more sexually attracted to males during that part of the cycle, okay? But one of the things that the GGOSH hypothesis kind of threw out there was, and also, not only are they horny, but they are attracted to what we would consider dominant male traits.
Right.
So maybe some facial hair, aggression, confidence, strong eye contact, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so the GGOSH study had multiple different studies that kind of supported that hypothesis, seemed to be, in the bank, the check was cashed, it's cleared, everything's good. But then the research world was turned upside down when Dr. Julia Younger, which is spelled J-U-N-G-E-R. She has one of those like Swedish U's with like dots over it or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So Younger or something. I don't know, whatever. So Julia, she put up a new study, and basically here's what she did. Okay, she had hundreds of women. And she monitored their ovulation cycle, and she had them watch video clips of varieties of men interacting with women. Now, in the videos, you couldn't see the women. You could only see the men. And so they'd watch these actors, that are interacting with women in the videos. And the men had all sorts of different personalities, different styles. It ranged from more dominant to less so. And the guys had every possible body type. Okay, so we're talking hundreds of women, lots and lots of film over the course of months, okay? Then the women would rank their sexual interest in the actors after watching the videos. And she would keep track of where they're at in their ovulatory cycle. And on top of that, she did something nobody's ever done before, which is that she periodically took saliva samples from them so that she could figure out where's their actual hormone levels and what's up and what's down, which was a new factor that we've never actually had before. So she runs this study, and then she publishes the results. And the published results turn GGOSH on its head. So here are the results. The first thing is, yes, women are definitely hornier during the fertile part of their cycle. So that did confirm. Okay, so she did confirm that aspect of GGOSH. That's true. It's in the bank. We know that that's true. And it makes evolutionary sense, right? Your body is responsive when you are most likely to conceive. So, that actually makes sense. But on top of that, she added another chapter to this. Because she did that saliva study, she discovered precisely which hormone it is that is escalated when women have a higher sex drive, and it's called estriadol. So the female hormone estriadol seems to be correlated with higher sex drive among women. So if you're out there and you're like, man, I really want to create a new cologne brand, you figure out how to distill that stuff. Bathe in it. Apparently it will have an effect, which I'm not sure if they can just smell it, but pretty sure it has to be at hormones. So anyway, that was the first takeaway of our study. So it confirmed that aspect of Gigosh, and it taught us about estriadol. But here's the next thing. The next thing that she discovered is the women had no correlation with attraction to certain traits. So the women were not attracted to more dominant traits. There was no definable difference. And that turned GGOsh on its head because, again, GGOsh stands for good genes ovulatory shift hypothesis. So we knew about the ovulatory aspect of it, that women are more attracted when they're fertile. That's fine. But the good genes part was about dominance. And so the original studies had said, oh, well, men who have dominant traits probably are exhibiting the kinds of genes that women would ultimately select for.
So when you talk about dominant traits, we're talking about like kind of that square jawline.
Yes, physical traits like the square jawline or facial hair, things like that, but really personality traits. It had more to do with behavior. And so like confidence, eye contact, their stance. And that was a big part of the video analog too, was that the actors in the videos were intentionally trying to portray certain aspects of male behavior. And so there were times whenever they would lean in and be aggressive, open posture, swagger, things like that, versus not that, high voice, low voice, baritone, soprano, it didn't matter. But what's fascinating is GGOsh had for a long time had us believing that these women, when they are sexually attracted, are selecting for dominant male characteristics. But this study by Younger shows us, no, they're not. They don't care. They just want the man.
That's okay. So that's really interesting because I'm already a couple steps ahead of you. Because what I'm thinking, because now I'm thinking like, how does this impact dating?
Oh, it's huge.
Because when you're dating and you're getting dating advice, one of the things that people will say all the time is the importance of not necessarily assertiveness, but confidence. Yeah. Confidence is huge. So confidence being one of those traits, and the things that you're talking about as far as kind of that open posture, standing up tall, standing up straight, presenting yourself, and so now you're saying that there's no actual correlation with it.
Well, so let me unpack that. There is probably evidence out there which tells us that there's a trend where women tend to select for certain characteristics like confidence. That could be a thing. It could just be considered a male factor that they are mostly attracted to. But what this study shows us is they're at least not subconsciously attracted to confidence. If they like confidence, it's because they like that aspect of you. The same way that one woman will say, oh, I really like a guy with a sense of humor. Okay, Darwin is not responsible for that. Like evolution did not program her to want a guy with a sense of humor. She is personally attracted to that type of man. So if they are attracted to men with confidence, fine. And it might be the case that a lot of women are, fine. But what this study unpacks for us is that it is not programmed. It is not genetic. It is not evolutionary. And we believed that it was. And so not only is that huge. So the two biggest takeaways were, A, they confirmed, yes, women are much more sexually hungry during their fertility cycle on the ovulation. But the big takeaway was they're not necessarily more attracted to dominant men or dominant features or dominant behavior. That's not anything. It doesn't matter. It had a zero effect. But then there was one last takeaway that came out of the study, and this was fascinating. So single women were actually less horny during that fertility piece of the cycle than were partnered women. Isn't that interesting? Because you probably would assume it'd be the other way around.
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess it kind of makes sense because if like from an evolutionary perspective, you would think that if you are already paired up, then that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what's funny is, as you just said that, in the study, the author offers that possible explanation. And says, well, Dr. Younger says exactly what you just said. She said, well, from the evolutionary hypothesis, we're saying, okay, she's already partnered, and so they've achieved that higher level of safety. And if you've achieved that sense of safety, like somebody's going to be there to take care of you for 9 months while you're gestating, that you probably are more accelerated. You're ready to go. Like the factors are in line. The stars are correct for you to go ahead and proceed with a pregnancy. So your body would probably be even more motivated to conceive because you have that aspect.
Wow.
Yeah, because I mean, you think about it. Like single women are not walking around saying, boy, you know, sure would like to get pregnant today. Like oftentimes that's exactly the opposite of what they're looking for right now. Exactly. Whereas when they're partnered in a stable relationship, now this is on their mind. Like now they're thinking about it a lot more and they start to develop the maternal instincts. We're actually seeing hormonal changes before pregnancy that indicate pregnancy, which is fascinating because and that's a whole nother study. But so yeah, that's actually a really good point. So yeah, 3 huge takeaways from a brand new groundbreaking study that tells us about what women are attracted to on a default level before we factor in their personal tastes. And fellas, if you're out there and you're like, man, you know, I don't look like the quarterback of the football team, you know, I'm not the jock, I'm not the... What we're seeing in this data is that that's not the default, man.
Kind of levels the playing field a little bit, doesn't it?
Hell yeah, it does. Hell yeah. Nerds around the world rejoice. It's going to be okay, dude.
We got a chance.
Shine them shoes, baby. Get out there. You have a chance. All these nerds was like, yes. Now they're going to, I can just hear like,
that's cool.
The Saturday Night Fever soundtracks playing and like they're like putting on the white jacket, like strutting down the street. Dun, 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 dun. I got this now. Science is on my side.
Now, not that I want to
rain on their parade,
be, you know, Johnny Buzzkill, but
you love being Johnny Buzzkill.
I kind of do.
Yeah, that's pretty much your thing.
Yeah. I love it when people get excited about something and be like, but
is it that great?
Here's the other thing, though.
They cured cancer.
Nah. But here's the other thing, though, too, with this is that obviously this study really only looks at women during a certain portion of their cycle. Right? Not the whole thing.
No, it does.
Oh, it did.
So okay. What's happening is they're monitoring them all month long. And they're monitoring when their cycle is happening, right? Which you can predict. Like my wife has like an app, like tells her, "Hey, you're fertile. Stay away from that guy." like an alarm comes on.
I can't wait to send her a text later and say, "Guess what we talked about on the show?"
Yeah, Jim's talking about whether or not you're fertile. It's getting weird.
You're going to want to get down here because
it's getting really weird. No, but that's a thing. And there's female listeners right now that are nodding their heads, going, "No, that is a really good app, though. You should totally have that." Because it gives you like a notifications. It's like, hey, just so you know, like this is the deal. Like over the next 72 hours, you should just be aware that, you know, whatever. But, you know, so no, the study actually watched them for the whole month. It saw, you know, the ups and downs of the cycle. And when they were predicted to be very fertile, which you can predict with a good amount of accuracy, because and you know, I don't know if you know this, Nick, because you're not a woman, and I've never been either.
It's true.
But I am affiliated with them. Apparently, women can feel this. They know when they are ovulating. It's like a hurt. Like they can feel it, and so they know, like, oh, there it is. Like I can feel this happening. I'm fertile now, and like that's super creepy. Like I don't know what to make of that, but like. At least they know. Like that's a good thing. They have an internal alarm clock, so they're aware, and so it's really interesting anyway. So the study tells us that dominant traits are not necessarily selected for. Men everywhere rejoice. You don't have to fit a stereotype to be the sexual monster that you think you're supposed to be. That Hollywoodized version of the sexual ideal man might be fun for fiction, and it's possibly true that a plurality of women happen to like that. You know, that's possible. But at least we know it's not programmed, and at least we know we're not seeing this evolve out of them naturally. So, men of the world rejoice. Nerds, great news for you, baby. You can do this. You got to work on that personality, though.
So this is, yeah,
this going to happen.
This is some interesting research.
Yeah, groundbreaking stuff. It's an opportunity.
I mean, I think there's enough anecdotal evidence to support a lot of the other things that's out there as far as, you know, dating and how to present yourself as being attractive. Because I honestly feel like the confidence thing is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's enough evidence out there to support that, even if it's not really justified in this research, but there's something to it.
Well, look at it this way, too. These women didn't interact with the actors, right? They watched them on a video.
Right.
And then they were just asked superficially. Like if we followed the study and said, will you actually go out with this man? Most of the women probably like, no, I didn't even meet him. Like I saw him on a video. I don't care. Like you're just asking me in a survey-like fashion, how attractive was that guy? 1 through 5. You know, I don't know. He's a 4. Like there's no correlation to it. Like it doesn't bear out. But what you're saying is still true, though. Like, there are male attributes, or